In 1981, the Soviet government did something no nation has ever done before or since. They made a single exercise mandatory for the entire country. Every factory worker, every office clerk, every laborer across 15 Soviet republics was required by federal law to train with a cast iron ball called a Girya, the same tool their military had used to build the most physically conditioned soldiers on Earth for over 80 years. And the shoulder conditioning it produced through ballistic loading, overhead fixation, and an offset center of mass that forces continuous stabilizer activation was so effective that the West did not even know the system existed until a former Spetsnaz trainer smuggled it to America in 1998. They called it the Girya Method. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how Soviet military conditioning built shoulders that modern dumbbell training physically cannot replicate. Most guys train shoulders the same way: overhead press, lateral raises, front raises, maybe some face pulls if they are advanced, and every one of those exercises has the same limitation: the weight is balanced. The center of mass in a dumbbell sits directly inside the handle, perfectly in line with the grip and the elbow joint. The shoulder stabilizers barely have to fire because the load is symmetrical and predictable. Nobody trains shoulders against a weight whose center of mass sits behind the shoulder joint, pulling the arm into external rotation while the deltoids push upward. That constant fight between the pressing muscles and the stabilizers is the one thing modern shoulder training never asks for. Now compare that to the Soviet military between 1900 and 1991. For nearly a century, the Red Army conditioned its soldiers with a single implement that most Western armies had never seen: a cast iron ball with a handle called a Girya, what the English-speaking world now calls a kettlebell. The word Girya first appeared in a Russian dictionary in 1704, originally used as a counterweight to measure grain in village markets. Farmers who lifted these iron weights daily developed strength that did not go unnoticed. By 1885, Dr. Vladislav Krajewski, personal physician to Tsar Nicholas II, attended a gathering of strongmen in Vienna, witnessed Girya training for the first time, and brought the technique back to Russia. The Tsar fell in love with it. He ordered it implemented throughout the Russian military. That single decision by a doctor who showed a Tsar an iron ball with a handle set in motion a training revolution that would last 140 years. By the 1920s, the Soviet government had integrated Girya training into national physical culture programs. In 1931, they established the GTO system, Gotov k trudu or obrony, meaning ready for labor and defense, which made Girya exercises part of standardized physical preparedness norms across every school, factory, and community in the country. In 1948, kettlebell lifting was declared the national sport of the Soviet Union. Champions from all 15 republics competed in Moscow at the All-Soviet Union competition of strongman. By the 1950s, Soviet Olympic weightlifters were using Girya to develop unilateral strength and correct imbalances that bilateral barbell training could not fix. And in 1981, the government mandated Girya training for all workers, believing it was the most efficient way to improve the fitness and productivity of the entire labor force. The strongest men earned the nickname Girevik, literally meaning kettlebell man, because in Russia, strength was synonymous with Girya prowess. And the concern everyone has about ballistic overhead movements: does swinging a heavy weight over your head not destroy your shoulders? The answer from 140 years of Russian military use and modern rehabilitation research is no. And in fact, the opposite. Proper Girya training can rehabilitate damaged shoulders. The offset loading forces the rotator cuff to co-activate during every movement, strengthening the stabilizers that most shoulder injuries originate from. The progression from light Girya to heavy follows the POOD system: 16 kilograms, then 24, then 32. Each jump is earned over months of technique refinement. The Soviets did not rush this progression because a soldier with a blown shoulder was a useless soldier. Here's what actually happens in your shoulder when you train with the Girya, and why nothing in a modern gym replicates it. Start with the swing. You grip the handle with one hand, hinge at the hips, and drive the Girya forward and upward through explosive hip extension. The Girya floats to chest height. Your arm is nearly straight, and then it reverses. That reversal is the key. The shoulder must decelerate a 16 to 32 kilogram weight that is traveling at high velocity through an arc. The posterior deltoid fires hard. The infraspinatus and teres minor of the rotator cuff brace against the forward pull. The deceleration is eccentric, which means the shoulder stabilizers are lengthening under load while producing force. That is the most demanding type of muscular contraction, and you do it for hundreds of reps per session. The bell almost feels weightless on the way up, then suddenly much heavier on the way down. You are not lifting it. You are catching it over and over again. The handle rolls slightly in the palm with every rep, shifting from the fingers on the backswing to the heel of the palm at the top. The first 20 swings feel like cardio. Your breathing deepens faster than you would expect from something that looks like an arm exercise. By 50, the rear deltoid starts burning in a way that no lateral raise produces because the loading is ballistic, not controlled. By 100, the muscles between the shoulder blades feel like they are holding the entire upper body together as a single unit. By 200, the shoulder is functioning under fatigue in a way that no dumbbell workout ever demands. The cadence changes, the hips start doing more work, the arms become quieter. That shift from arm dominant to hip dominant is exactly what separates beginners from experienced gyrovics. Beginners grip too hard and burn out the forearms before the shoulder is loaded. That is the most common failure. The grip must be loose enough that the Girya can rotate in the hand. If your knuckles are white, you are fighting the implement instead of moving with it. The second movement is the snatch. One continuous motion from between the legs to locked out overhead. The Girya accelerates upward through hip drive, rolls around the wrist at the top, and the arm locks out with the bell resting on the back of the forearm. That locked out position is called the fixation, and the fixation is where the real shoulder conditioning happens. The progression from beginner to elite in this single movement takes years. Beginners spend weeks learning to stop the bell from crashing into the forearm at the top. The bruised wrists and torn calluses of the first month are universal. Intermediate lifters learn to punch through the handle at the apex, so the bell rolls gently around the wrist instead of slamming into it. Advanced athletes make almost no sound at the top because the transition is seamless. Elite gyrovics repeat this for 10 uninterrupted minutes, maintaining perfect fixation overhead, while the shoulder stabilizers function under accumulating fatigue that no pressing exercise ever produces. The Girya center of mass is not inside the handle like a dumbbell. It sits below and behind the wrist, pulling the shoulder into external rotation. The rotator cuff must fire continuously to counteract that pull, while the deltoids hold the arm overhead. In Girya sport competition, athletes perform as many snatches as possible in a 10-minute set. That means 10 minutes of overhead fixation under an offset, on stable load. No overhead dumbbell exercise holds the weight at the top between reps for that duration, under that instability. The fixation is what builds the deep stabilizer endurance that separates Girya-trained shoulders from gym-trained shoulders. The third movement is the Turkish getup, and this is the one that Soviet lore says you had to complete with a 100-pound Girya before you could come of age. You start lying flat on your back with the Girya pressed overhead in one hand. Your eyes lock onto the bell, and they do not leave it for the entire movement. You roll onto your opposite elbow, then post onto your hand. Your hips drive upward into a bridge while the loaded arm stays perfectly vertical. Then you sweep the free leg underneath into a kneeling position. From kneeling, you stand. The Girya has not moved. Your arm has not bent. Your shoulder held the offset mass perfectly stable through 7 distinct positional changes. From lying on the floor to standing upright, passing through supine, seated, bridged, half kneeling, and tall kneeling positions along the way. Then you reverse the entire sequence back to the floor. Every angle the shoulder can occupy is loaded during one single rep. No other exercise in any training system passes through that many positions while maintaining a locked out overhead hold. Beginners lose the bell during the bridge because the hips push the torso angle and the shoulder cannot compensate fast enough. That is the first failure. The second is bending the elbow during transitions to relieve the stabilizer demand. If the elbow bends, the Girya has won. Try this right now. Hold any weight in one hand at shoulder height with your palm facing inward, like the bottom of a press. Now rotate your wrist so your palm faces forward and push the weight overhead. Feel how your shoulder has to adjust as the orientation changes. Now imagine the weight is not balanced in your palm, but hanging below your wrist, pulling backward, constantly trying to rotate your arm out of position. Your rotator cuff has to fight that pull for every second the weight is overhead. That is what the Girya does. Every rep, every set, every session. This is where the science actually explains what they were doing. EMG research comparing overhead pressing with a Girya versus a dumbbell at the same weight found that muscle activity of all muscles except the upper trapezius was always higher for Girya pressing. The researchers concluded that different center of gravity locations in the Girya versus the dumbbell can increase shoulder muscle activity during the overhead press. That constant offset is why Girya-trained shoulders develop differently. A separate study on shoulder muscle activation across kettlebell exercises found that the swing elicited the highest serratus anterior activation. The serratus anterior is the muscle responsible for scapular stability, the foundation of healthy overhead movement. Modern shoulder training often neglects the serratus entirely. Soviet soldiers loaded it with every swing they performed. And research on rotator cuff and scapular musculature during Girya exercises confirmed that different exercises elicit activation of the shoulder girdle at different capacities, meaning a program combining swings, snatches, and getups develops the entire shoulder complex in a way that no single dumbbell exercise can. Now here's the part most people get wrong about kettlebells. They think the Girya is just another piece of gym equipment, a trendy alternative to dumbbells that fitness influencers discovered in the 2010s. That is the myth. The truth is, the Girya was a Soviet state secret for 113 years. While the West trained shoulders with barbells, dumbbells, and machines from 1885 onward, the Soviet military was building its soldiers with Girya and winning. Their Spetsnaz were among the most physically conditioned special forces in history. Their Olympic weightlifting team dominated for decades, and they used an 18th century iron ball with a handle. The Girya did not enter Western fitness until 1998, when Pavel Tsetsolin, a former Spetsnaz physical training instructor, moved to the United States and published an article titled Vodka, Pickle Juice, Kettlebell Lifting, and Other Russian Pastimes. He went on to train U.S. Navy SEALs, Marines, and the Secret Service, using the same methods he learned in Soviet special forces. For over a century, the most effective shoulder conditioning tool in existence was hidden behind the Iron Curtain. Here's what we actually lost. For 140 years, the Soviet system built shoulders through a combination of ballistic deceleration that loaded the posterior deltoid and rotator cuff eccentrically at high velocity, sustained overhead fixation under an offset mass that forced continuous stabilizer co-activation for minutes at a time, and multi-positional stabilization through every angle of shoulder elevation during get-ups. Modern shoulder training separated all of that into isolated, slow, controlled, balanced exercises on stable surfaces with predictable loads. The offset was removed. The velocity was removed. The duration was removed. What remained was deltoid hypertrophy without the stabilizer conditioning that actually protects the joint. If you want to start, here's how. Week 1 and 2, two-handed swings with a 16-kilogram Girya. 10 reps by 5 to 10 sets. Focus on driving through the hips, not pulling with the arms. The Girya should float to chest height from hip power alone. If the front of the shoulder burns, the hips are not firing and the deltoid is doing the work. That is the most common failure. Week 3 and 4, switch to one-arm swings. 10 reps each side by 5 sets. The single arm creates unilateral deceleration through one shoulder and anti-rotation through the core. If the Girya pulls you into rotation, the core is not bracing hard enough. Month 2, introduce the Turkish getup with an 8 to 12 kilogram Girya. 1 rep each side by 5 sets. Lock the arm overhead and keep it locked while your body moves underneath. The shoulder does not move. The body moves around the shoulder. If the elbow bends during any transition, the stabilizers are not engaged. Month 3 and 4, introduce the snatch with a 16 kilogram Girya. 5 to 10 reps each side by 3 to 5 sets. Build toward the Soviet standard of 10-minute continuous sets. By month 4, the shoulders will have changed visibly. Rounder deltoids, denser upper back, and a rotator cuff that has been conditioned through thousands of reps of offset ballistic loading, not 3 sets of 15 with the resistance band. Modern shoulder training balanced the load and removed the one variable that made the shoulder joint indestructible. The Girya Method put it back, and it took 113 years for the West to find out. If this changed how you think about shoulder training, subscribe. Drop a comment telling me what ancient method you want broken down next.